Monday Night Raw, Monday, August 19, 2024. What could you possibly say about this show? No, truthfully, what can BC possibly say about this show? A show that after 3 hours, when it went off the air, you thought, whoa, absolutely nothing happened of substance for the last 3 hours. So what can BC possibly say about this show? First of all, you can thank my channel members for this review. That's the reason this is even happening. There was a point last night where BC said, what am I even doing? First of all, it's bad enough I'm spending 3 hours on this show. 3 hours of prime time on this show. But then I got to do my due diligence. I'm doing my notes so that I can put on this show for you guys the next morning. But I thought, does anybody really care about Monday Night Raw at this point? But it was my channel members. I said, you know what? That level of support, that is what will will me through these notes and through this show to do this review. To every single subscriber on this channel that carries a badge after their name, that gold card, or that amplified gold, that amplified star, or the gold coffee coming soon. Every single channel member, this is a big thank you on behalf of everybody in the unit. You guys are the reason this review is even happening. Because when I thought, what are we doing here? I thought of that level of support. I thought about all those gold cards, those amplified stars, those gold coffees. My channel members, that's why we're doing this. Because last night's show, when I say it was 3 hours of absolutely nothing, that is an overwhelming understatement. We started this show with Randy Orton, a SmackDown guy, mind you, having words again with the Raw champion, Gunther. Nothing that was said had any substance to it. Ludwig, the sidekick to Gunther, jumps in the ring, attacks Randy Orton, and that's the segment. That's how you started the show. Crickets. The crowd they couldn't even fathom that was it. They were looking around. There's got to be more, right? This is the start to Raw. That was so anticlimactic. And it just led to the main event, which is just Randy Orton versus Gunther's sidekick, Ludwig. And I'll save you, right? We're going to go over this entire show. Shouldn't take too long, but we're going to go over everything. But in this cold open teaser, I'll tell you exactly what happened if you missed the show in the main event. Randy took on Ludwig. Randy RKO'd Ludwig. Gunther got in the ring post-match. They threw some punches, and the show went off the air. So you started a 3-hour primetime pro wrestling show on national television. You started it with Randy and Gunther saying some words of no substance and then Randy getting dropped by the sidekick. And you ended the show with Randy beating the sidekick and Gunther and Randy throwing some punches at one another. That's it. Last week, you saw Randy Orton literally RKO Gunther, his finisher. So Gunther took Randy's finisher last week. So where do you go from there? You have to amplify the story, right? You have to get bigger, badder, better the next week. You don't go backwards the following week. So you RKO'd Gunther. Now you got to get really creative this week. So where do you go from an RKO last week? You go to some punches. They punched each other a couple times and we went off the air with Michael Cole going, absolute chaos. No, it's not. Randy and Gunther are throwing punches and people still don't know why. A couple months ago, Randy had his shoulder up by accident. So now we're getting SmackDown's Orton and Gunther. And this is the storyline we have. RKO last week. Now they're punching each other a couple of times. That's it. That was the start and the finish of the show. No joke. If you missed this show, you might be thinking, BC, there had to be more to this, right? I think you're simplifying it a little too much. No, that's what happened. It started with Gunther and Randy with the most absolute sleep-inducing promo. You could have taken a nap during that promo, woken up, and you missed nothing. And then Ludwig just takes out Orton. The same type of situation we've seen with Gunther for months and months and months. The only difference is you don't have a Giovanni Vinci helping Ludwig. And then at the end of the night, Ludwig just takes the L for Gunther, and then Gunther and Randy throw some bows. What are you doing? What are you doing? You know, it dawned on me. It dawned on me what we're watching on Monday Night Raw every single Monday night. You know what we're watching? We are watching a house show. That's all this is. It's a house show. Monday Night Raw is a house show. It is 3 hours, first of all. That is a pay-per-view. A PLE, whatever you want to call it. That's a pay-per-view. 3 hours. The only difference is there's nothing on the show that's captivating. You're hoping, but you're waiting. You're watching 3 hours, and you're just hoping that something sticks on the wall. These are basically pay-per-views. They're just not. 3-hour television show. And it's a house show, man. It's just for the crowd to show up and yell, "This is awesome," for a PD Dunne Sheamus match. That happened last night. 5 minutes into this match, you hear all the kids, right? And you can hear it. Listen, crank up the volume during the match. Most of these matches. "This is awesome," right? It starts with all the kids, right? And then the families jump in, right? The mom and dad that don't know a lot about wrestling. They're like, "Yeah, that's right, Timmy. This is awesome." Right? And you listen, half the crowd wasn't even doing it, right? Most of them are the grown adults, the dudes, right? Because you hear no bass. You hear no bass in that "this is awesome," right? "This is awesome," right? There's no bass in there. So a lot of the dudes are like, "Guys, relax. It's 5 minutes into a Pete Dunne Sheamus match. You're giving them the same reaction you gave Shawn Michaels Undertaker WrestleMania 25. Pete Dunne and Sheamus was good. It's good. Awesome. Awesome after 5 minutes. Pete Dunne and Sheamus. That's a house show. It's a house show. I'd be lying to you. And I know I'm not the only one, by the way, but just take BC's review of this. I'd be lying to you if I said Sheamus versus Pete Dunne. Whoa, I was excited when I saw that. When I saw that was what they had on paper and they were advertising it, I said, it's going to be a banger. Sheamus versus Pete Dunne. Because for weeks, Pete Dunne's been upset with Sheamus. He hit him with a ukulele last week, Beasley. A ukulele. He could have dropped a piano on his dome piece. I wouldn't have cared. I wouldn't have cared if he dropped a piano on him, shoved a flute up his ass, hit him in the mug with a guitar. I don't care about Sheamus and Pete Dunne. Triple threat tag title match. Triple threat tag title match for the ladies. Io and Kairi, Alba and Isla, Shayna and Zoey. 3 heels for all intents and purposes, because a lot of fans like BC don't know why Io and Kairi are all of a sudden faces. Nothing happened. They got attacked by other heels, Zoey and Shayna. I've been saying this for several weeks, that they've been trying to act like they're faces. You can't just go wave a magic Harry Potter Expecto Patronio fucking wand and boop, we have faces now. The fans have to feel that. Like Shawn Michaels sending Marty Jannetty through the barbershop window. You knew Shawn Michaels got to get his Cummins. You got to get behind Marty Jannetty. Kairi and Io, after all they did to Bayley and all the dastardly deeds, and this group of heels shows up and out-heels them. So now we're like, I feel bad for them. They got out-heeled. I know they're heels, and they did all that to Bayley and all the other faces, but man, we got to show them sympathy because they got bad guyed. They got out-heeled. Come on, man. I can't force that feeling. And Io is one of the best female wrestlers on the planet, by the way. I want great booking for her because she damn well has earned it. Kairi continues to improve by the week. One of the best elbows you're ever going to see in the business would make Macho Man Randy Savage so damn proud from high above. That Kairi insane elbow. Thing of beauty. Love those gals. I'm watching them and I'm like, they're tweeners now because half the crowd that regurgitates everything that WWE delivers to them, right? WWE whips up a BS stew, delivers it, presents it to the audience, and the audience gobbles it up like it's a buffet, like it's the Cracker Barrel buffet, and then they go, please, sir, can I have some more? And then the other half of the audience is like, BC, no, what are we doing? I like Io, I like Kairi, but are we cheering? What are you... What are we? It's 3 heel teams for all intents and purposes. 3 heel tag teams are going for titles last night. Because if you listen to the crowd, don't just take BC's word on this. If you missed the show, I know a lot of you guys, you missed the show, but you listen to BC's review the next morning. You say, BC, thanks for taking one for the team, man, and watching this 3-hour snooze fest for us. So if you didn't see the show, or if you did and maybe you missed it, crank it up. You don't even need to crank it up. At the finish of that match, that triple threat tag match for the ladies for those titles, crickets is an understatement. Guys, it was sad how most of the crowd didn't even stand up. That's when you get up and stretch. Even if the match was bad, you get up and stretch. Most of the crowd, they're like, next. Back in the day, you used to get programs, right? When you showed up to the arena for the live events, they give you a program, the rundown of what's next. If they had those, everybody would have that sheet of paper out. That was so sad to see. That shows you they have no pulse on the women's division for sure. And the tag division, that was just the double threat, right? That was Hunter Hearst Helmsley not having a stronghold on the women's division and the tag division for the dudes and the ladies. So last night you had the tag division and the ladies rolled up into one ball. We'll throw 3 teams out there. We'll hope something sticks. When the bell rang to finish this match, everybody sat down. Nobody made a peep. That was a fail. I could have told you that. How about Braun Breaker? This is your IC title holder. IC title holder. The last couple weeks, you wouldn't have known that. What's he been doing? Nothing. He sits backstage. He cuts a little promo backstage the last couple of weeks. That's all he's doing. Braun Breaker's not doing anything. Braun Breaker on a 3-hour show. You know what they called for last night? A tournament starting next week. Braun Breaker says there's going to be a tournament for his number 1 contendership for his title. A tournament! How many times do you see tournaments in pro wrestling? We talk about it all the time. You talk about redundancy. If it's looked up in the dictionary, I wouldn't be shocked if you see the WWE logo. Tournament after tournament after tournament. Put that on a t-shirt, Sheamus. Tournaments. Because we're lazy, right? Nobody wants to spend time actually making a really fun feud, right? The last 2 weeks that you've had Braun Breaker backstage doing absolutely nothing, saying absolutely nothing on the microphone, nothing of substance. The last 2 weeks, do you realize you could have been creating, giving us a badass feud for Berlin and Bad Blood? You could take that to Survivor Series. You could have been starting a feud. That's how we always did business in pro wrestling. The champion has a really good storyline and feud with the challenger, who is more than believable, by the way, to be a number 1 contender. So it fits. And at the next pay-per-view, you have that number 1 contender with the champion. But they didn't win tournaments, or they didn't have to win a battle royal or a turmoil match. They started a feud, so you wanted to see that match. The title was like the cherry on top. You were more invested in the feud and the story. The fact that the title's on the line, like Ric Flair and Randy Savage WrestleMania 8, you guys remember that storyline. Just using that as an example, because the title was like the icing on the cake. You had to see Savage Flair. We don't do that anymore, man. Nobody wants to get creative. You have 617 writers. Hunter Hearst Helmsley is too busy being on all the promotional ads, doing all the promotional work, doing all the kickoff shows, doing all the post-media scrums. Every single promotion, all you see is there's Hunter. Are you ready, Berlin, Germany? Are you ready, France? He's the face of the company. He shouldn't be. I don't know who has the bigger ego at this point. Is it Tony Khan from AEW, who's always got to be the face of the company? Or is it Hunter Hearst Helmsley, who always has to be the face of this damn company? We get it. It's the Hunter Hearst Helmsley era. Enough! I see more Hunter Hearst Helmsley on television these days than I did back in the Attitude Era when he was at his peak. But you have Helmsley, you have 617 creative writers, and nobody can get creative for title matches or number 1 contenders anymore. They can't do it. Once in a blue moon, and then that's it. They blew their load. They start overheating. They start smoking at the boardroom meeting table, right? Uh-oh, 512 just dropped. Oh, there goes 519. Oh, 612 needs water. Sir, we just lost 425 to 490. All creative writers passed at the same time, passed out. They just start overheating if they think of something good. Or something that might stick. So then by the time you get to the IC title, they're like, tournament. What about all the tag titles? Tournament. One set, the SmackDown titles will do a tournament. Raw titles will do a tag team turmoil. Do a battle royal for the US championship. Tournaments. Non-stop. We just saw it for all the tag titles. We literally just saw that. And the women's. The United States Championship, we're probably doing the same thing, are we not? Did they just do like a little qualifier thing, or was that the tag title? US title is always having these stupid tournaments. IC title, tournament. Tournament after tournament after tournament after tournament after tournament. It is lazy. It's not fun. Now we have to watch a bunch of random matchups that they just created. It probably done in 10 minutes last night, right? They took a crayon, they took a Post-it pad, and in 5 minutes, they just wrote down a bunch of names on the roster, but made a bunch of matches. They said who's going over, and you just booked the next 2 to 3 weeks of television, bare minimum. You can book in 5 minutes. You just booked a bunch of your TV time. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, as Oscar would say. And you ain't got to put any effort into it. That's what tournaments are. And then we watch all of these wrestling matches. Random. Just so when it's all said and done after weeks, when it's all said and done, we finally have a number one contender when you could have just named it from the beginning and had a storyline. Instead of wasting all this time with random wrestling matchups, just have a storyline so we can get excited and intrigued and captivated by it. It's not rocket science. We're not totally turning the business upside down. It's the fundamentals and the foundation of pro wrestling. Tournaments after tournaments after tournaments. And when it's all said and done, who knows? Is it just Jey Uso to do the job of Braun? Because Braun can't lose the title this quick anyway, so no matter who it is, they can't beat Braun anyway. Jey Uso is still getting punished for what his pop said. Rikishi's pissed at Hunter Hearst Helmsley because he feels he should be booked better. So ever since, Jey Uso's basically not on TV. The last several weeks, he's just in backstage segments with Sammy. Last night, Sammy was gone, so it was just Jey Uso. So he's been completely removed. He was talking last night about just trying to win his first title, so maybe he will. Maybe it'll be the Speed Championship. But he's not winning the IC from Braun. Braun just won that title. And Jey Uso can't beat Braun Breaker unless you're playing hot potato like they used to do with Sasha Banks and Charlie Flair. Just pass it back and forth just so you can patent Charlie's stats so she gets closer to Ric Flair, her father's record, because that's what was happening. So you just have Jey Uso. I mean, does he just win this thing? A bunch of random, that's what I mean. These are like house shows these days. These are house shows, guys. You're just showing up watching random wrestling matches, and if you're there, maybe that's okay, right? If you're there live, because when they say business is booming, yeah, they're going overseas. They're getting all of that business, which is really amping up their revenue, and they've really catered to the kids and the families that are coming out. That's great. That's why the This Is Awesome chants, right? It's low pitch, right? This is awesome. It's the kids. Maybe some of the family members join in. That's all it is. And they'll regurgitate it. They just show up because they want to yell all the sayings that they heard on TV, right? So 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute into a match. This is awesome. Right? That's what they mean when business is booming and they're selling out arenas. Yeah, man. I mean, it's more kids than ever before. More of those parents are being dragged out. Good. That's a good business model. You know who's being left behind? Those that actually want to be entertained by a good wrestling show. Top to bottom, beginning to end, start to finish, with captivating storylines, memorable moments, surprises, and debuts, and returns. A 3-hour Monday Night Raw should have it all. Not just a piece, just a piece. It should have it all. It's 3 hours. These are like pay-per-views we have to sit through every single Monday night. 3 hours, guys, of our time. And nothing happens. These are nothing more than house shows. It's great if you're there, right? You can yell, "This is awesome," for every match. If you're sitting at home last night for 3 hours watching this, how could you have loved this show? I don't know. Your prerogative, much respect. I'm not even going to dog you out. If you watched this show and you liked it, cool. I give you utmost respect. There's a huge part of me that would love to have just loved half of this show. I can't do it, man. I can't lower my standards. I can't do it, man. You started the show with Randy and Gunther just saying nothing to one another. Nothing. One of the worst back and forth promos I can remember in recent memory. And then you just had Ludwig attack Randy, and the segment was over to the crowd befuddled and confused. There has to be more, they're thinking, right? No, there's not. And you waited 3 hours just to watch Randy and Ludwig have a match with an RKO finish. And then Gunther gets in and they throw some punches at one another. The dude got RKO'd last week. So what do we do for a bigger moment this week? They throw some punches and we go off the air. If that's exciting to you, again, much respect. Because I don't even know how that's possible. In the middle of the show, I'm watching 3 heel teams basically for the ladies go for women's tag titles. The crowd couldn't care less when the bell rang. Could not care less. Petey Dunne and Sheamus. Wow, will that put asses in seats? But they yelled after a couple minutes. They said, "This is awesome, BC." Yeah. Be awesome if it just gets off the airwaves. Maxxine, Dupree, and Ivy Nile for 2 minutes, and then the Wyatts show up and they start brawling with the American Maid. That has already fallen flat on its face. That was 3-hour show, and that's the best you had for the Wyatts. Well, the lights will go out, they'll show up on the apron, they'll brawl with American Maid. And we already saw Uncle Howdy take out Gable, by the way, Sister Abigail. And now you're going to see that match next week. They didn't even bother building this to a special moment at a pay-per-view. Gable Howdy. The 3 hours of Raw went off the air last night. Do you realize the Wyatts weren't even one of the top talking points? Right, if you look at the top 5 talking points, and they had to stretch just to find the 5, by the way, the Wyatts weren't even a part of that. How sad is that? New Day and Odyssey Jones versus Final Testament. If you thought Kairi and Cross's team finally got a victory, absolutely not. Oh, why would a badass group, or a group that should be looked at as badass, why would they win a match? What else? I don't even know. The highlight of the night was just Michael Cole announcing that Pat McAfee is leaving Raw for the next several months for the football season, College Game Day, all that good stuff. But he'll be back in January for Netflix. That was the highlight of that. That was the talking point, by the way. If you're wondering, that was the number one headline from last night's show. That's not good. 3-hour pro wrestling show, and Pat McAfee, a guy who admits he doesn't even follow the program. He shows up. He doesn't even follow WWE. He doesn't follow it. He's got a stacked schedule. He's packed from time he gets up, time he goes to bed. He doesn't have time to watch pro wrestling, but he shows up and you're just getting his natural reaction. I got some thought. When I go over the review, I got some thoughts on that, by the way. We all love Pat McAfee, or most of us, but there's a huge but when I get to that section. That was your highlight, man. CM Punk, an emotional promo talking about the fans, and how much he loves the fans. This is like, it's just such a different Phil Brooks. It's almost like a very phony Phil Brooks, but I'm not calling. We hope that this is we're hoping this sticks. But this is, we've never seen a Phil Brooks like this. I mean, it's a love fest with the fans. He spent the whole promo talking about individuals with diseases and disabilities and how much it warms his heart, and he's thanking everybody in the crowd, literally, like pointing people, thanking them. I was like, whoa, this is like a hug fest, man. I'm expecting Kane and Daniel Bryan to come out and we hug it out. But an emotional promo, Drew McIntyre comes to the top of the ramp and the strap match is confirmed for Bash in Berlin. I guess that was like the best part of the night, and nothing happened. Just CM Punk talking is sometimes the only thing you need, right? I mean, just give the guy a mic, because at least that's what this could all be phony, but when CM Punk is talking, you're just invested in it, right? There is a level of believability in the words. And that's what makes him polarizing, because it could be all BS when it's all said and done. You never know. But for the moment, it's captivating. I don't know what can I possibly speak of. Priest and Ripley got annihilated by Judgment Day. That was the other, I guess, good part. Bronson, nothing. He's been a good part of the Raw the last couple weeks, squashing Rollins and then R-Truth. Last night, nothing. He defeated Miz, and then Braun Strowman came out. And that's it. They just made a match for next week. Braun and Bronson. So they didn't even... That's what I mean. Anything that was good last week, they didn't really expand on that. SummerSlam was so damn good. SummerSlam ended up being a true game changer. SummerSlam, I felt the landscape of WWE change. As long as Hunter Hearst Helmsley carried that momentum, the landscape had changed for the better. He didn't carry any momentum. Nothing. This show last night, when it went off the air and I just saw Randy and Gunther throwing some punches, I'm like, what did we do, man? That's how you start and end your show? When this show was over, nothing mattered. Nothing. Nothing. You're going to get a tournament for the IC title, number one contender. We just confirmed what we already knew. There's going to be a strap match with Punk and Drew McIntyre. Gunther and Randy continue to say words. The women's division, non-existent. Ivy and Maxxine got 2 minutes, and then the lights went out. No contest. And then you had a weird tag team triple threat title match with all basically heels. And when it was said and done, if you wonder why nobody got up out of their seats, it's because that's Hunter Hearst Helmsley's women's division. What else? What else? Nothing to talk about. I can literally close up the coffee bar now. Close up the coffee bar. Because I'll distribute it. Everybody needs coffee. Everybody needs coffee to get through this show. If you're not there live and you're just watching at home, you need a coffee. Come on. You need a coffee. You need a coffee. You need a coffee. You need a coffee. Everybody needs a coffee. Here, take boxes. Take boxes. Boxes of it. Take boxes. Might as well shut it all down. Why even have a review show if there's nothing truly to review? Just shut it down. Take it all down. Take it all down. Take it down. Done. 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 What's the title? The title I want? Title? You want a title? You want the title? All you gotta do is win the tournament. We're gonna have a tournament for the fucking title. That's what we're gonna do. You have to stay because, well, it's the notice, right? For people stumbling upon the channel. We're not here to have a cookie cutter review, obviously. Mark Henry's got to come down. Mark, you've got to come down. What do you... Get up, Mark. Come on, Mark. Mark Henry. That's what I do, Mark Henry. That's what I do. I don't even know what we're doing on the fucking channel anymore because there's nothing to review. There's nothing. They're cold open. Us literally having to bitch about this show because it's so damn bad. That's your half an hour review. Can't have fucking, screw the fucking coffee bar. Coffee bar closed. At least for the pro wrestling reviews, because why subject anybody to this trash? Shall we go over the show itself? Let's go over the show itself. Now that we've deconstructed the set on the Amplified channel. Randy Orton and Gunther start this show with another in-ring promo. Nothing of substance was said at all. Ludwig Kaiser attacks Orton from behind. Segment over. Match is made up with Orton and Kaiser for the main event. That's all I had in my notes. That's it. How sad is that? The opening of the show is just as important as the main event, right? This is where you hook everybody in. It's a 3-hour show, and you want to make sure everybody knows you can put that remote down because this show is going to be amazing. Nothing. You start with something epic. You keep going back to that awesome storyline, and then at the end, you have that culminating climactic moment, right? And if it's done correctly, you have a cliffhanger, it's called. And you swing with that momentum to the next week, right? Just picture like you're in an obstacle and you're swinging from one station to another, and you grab that rope and you swing to the next one, right? And they keep getting a little higher, but you keep getting that momentum. That's how you want your wrestling shows to go to a pay-per-view. You don't want to go backwards. You don't want to start off really bad either, by the way, because then you're just going to fall. You're not going to make it to that next station. You're not going to swing to the next station. We started off with that, and the crowd was confused at the end of it. Like, all right, well, they're playing Randy's music, so I guess the promo's over. Or however it ended last night. No, it was, yeah, I think Ludwig attacked Randy, whatever it was. Did Randy get the upper hand? I don't even know. That's it. All that's in my notes is Ludwig attacks Orton from behind, and the segment was over. And then you went into the first match of the night, Sheamus defeating Pete Dunne via bro kick pinfall. Weeks of Dunne attacking Sheamus, and that's it. Weeks of seeing him get hit with a ukulele or a flute or a banjo. And that's it. Just a bro kick. Thanks for coming, Pete Dunne. Wait for your partner, Tyler Bate, to come back, and you guys can play in NXT for a little bit. Not that the crowd in attendance cared, right? You could have put a tater tot and a chicken nugget and have them battle it out, and they still would have yelled, "This is awesome." Because that's what they did. After 5 minutes of Pete Dunne and Sheamus, half the crowd, that's tops, by the way, I'm being generous, half the crowd yelling, "This is awesome." Low pitched, it was all the kids, right? Anybody over the age of fucking 6 would have told you, no, it's not. Simmer down. And thankfully, most of the adults in that arena did not participate. They're like, stop, man. What happens if we get something truly awesome? But the kids, you know how they are. They show up. They're all excited. They want to regurgitate what they heard on TV, right? So they're just waiting, right? Come on, man. I can't wait. Timmy, the match just started. All right, I'll wait 2 minutes. And the second they have a fast-paced, decent to even good sequence, and then there's a pause in the action, wait for it, it's coming, right? Because it's a microwave society. People don't know what to do with the dead time, right? With silence or anything like that. So they just, right, I mean, if the wrestlers stop for a second, the crowd doesn't know what to do. Start fiddling with their thumbs. They start fucking saying random things like, "This is awesome!" Every time there's a break in fast-paced action, I dread it because I'm like, oh no, it's coming. Here comes the what is it? ADD, ADHD, whatever, the bunch of letters. Here it comes. And the second there's a pause in the action, there's going to be an eruption of a chant because the fans always have to be a part of this. Sheamus and Pete Dunne. It wasn't awesome on paper. It wasn't awesome in the ring. It's not awesome thinking back on it. It's just not awesome. Good? I'll give you good. Maxxine Dupree and Ivy Nile then go 2 minutes to a no contest. Hunter's cooking, I was told, especially with the women's division. He's cooking, man. Dupree and Nile go 2 minutes. The lights go out. Nikki Cross is in the ring. American Maid hits the ring to save Nile. Wyatts then appear and everybody brawls. Segment ends with Chad Gable getting hit with Sister Abigail by Uncle Howdy. And then the match is announced next week for Howdy and Gable. Why, man? This has been a couple months of a feud. Odd. Should have and could have been so much better, but all right. The verdict is still out, right? You guys know how highly I praise Bray Wyatt. This channel was founded on individuals like Bray Wyatt. And how much respect I have for Bo and Rowan and WWE for doing this. And hoping that it gets done correctly and that we really care about it. That last night, you can't do that. You can't. They're going to seem so average, man. They just show up on the apron and everybody brawls. Gable's taken out already, right? The physical. I mean, I'm glad we're no longer doing those little interview snippets, the VHS vignettes. But this ain't it either, man. You have to do better than this creatively. You have to make them feel special. Just a brawl, whether the lights are on or off. Whether there's a red beaming light or a blue light or there's fireflies. You can't just have them brawl with American Made every week. There has to be creativity put into this. 3-hour show. In 60 seconds, the Wyatts came and gone. That's what she said. Then we go to hour number 2. That was hour number 1, by the way. Randy and Gunther say words of nothingness. Sheamus defeats PD Dunne, and Maxxine Dupree and Ivy Nile have a 2-minute match. And then it was a shit ton of filler. Filler after filler, promotional work, ads, bunch of commercials, lots of commercials. CM Punk then starts hour number 2. An emotional promo talking about fans that he met at Fanatics Fest in NYC. And then he says it'll be he and Drew in a strap match in Berlin. Drew comes out. The funniest line of the night was from Drew McIntyre. So Drew McIntyre hits the top of the ramp and he says, I have to honestly ask you, have you been drinking? He says, have you seen me? Of course I accept. Because he's thinking, a strap match? Have you seen the chop matches I've had? Strap matches is right up my alley. And then he's thinking, like, you have to literally carry your opponent or drag your opponent to all 4 corners and touch the corner. How are you going to drag Drew McIntyre to 4 corners? Or how are you going to pick him up, almost like in a go-to-sleep position, fireman's carry, and take him to every corner? How are you going to do that to Drew? You're going to have to literally knock him out for like 20 seconds. So Drew's like, have you been drinking? Of course I accept. Have you seen me? That was the funniest line. And then they just start talking again. AJ Lee and Larry and I mean, at that point, it was I think I put in my notes too, right? Awkward. I put awkward, cold ending, but best part of the show at this juncture. That's what I put in my notes. So, because the ending was just, the crowd, just like a lot of these segments, guys. Randy and Gunther at the start of the night, the triple threat tag title match for the ladies. This segment with Punk and Drew, when the segments ended, the crowd was silent. They like didn't know it was even over. That's how badly produced these segments were last night. That's what I'm trying to say. This isn't just like an opinion or a thought, right? This is like what actually happened last night. And these are crowds that are showing up ready to make noise, right? They want to yell, this is awesome for everything. And as the crowds get younger, they're more louder and high-pitched, but more louder. And so when they're confused, when they're not making any noise when the segment is over, that's when you know there's an issue. This segment ended, and guys, this is a CM Punk. CM Punk had the last word on the microphone, and the crowd was silent. Thankfully, they played his music, and that's when fans were like, oh, the segment's over. Okay. And then they started like making a little bit more noise. That was sad. So that's what I mean when I put in my notes, awkward, cold ending. But the best part of the show at the juncture, because it's still Punk and Drew. And when you think of the stories in WWE, and there's not many, there's the Bloodline, there's, I guess, the Wyatts, and then there's the Judgment Day one, right? And then there's little side pockets that we don't know what's happening, right? With Bronson, for instance, but that took a weird turn with Braun Strowman. I'll get to that in a few minutes. So there's but there's nothing really, right? There's nothing really. When you talk 3 hours on Raw, 2 hours on SmackDown, the mid-card is bad. The women's division is irrelevant, unfortunately, and the tag team division is non-existent. So the bulk of the show, outside a couple 2-3 stories in WWE is in shambles, storyline-wise. It just is. I mean, we're going over the segments. There's nothing captivating. The audience in attendance is confused. But because it's Drew and Punk, I put in my notes, it's the best part of the show at this juncture, because at least I'm into what they're saying to one another, even if they are just talking about AJ and Larry for the 87th time. Then we go to New Day in Odyssey Jones defeating Final Testament via pinfall. Odyssey pins one of the AOPers. Didn't even care which one it was. I just saw Odyssey over AOP. AOP loses again. Karrion Kross's team, his faction, Final Testament loses again. I don't know. I mean, you could keep saying, well, BC, in the future, he'll get his push, BC. He's going to be something good. The group will be fine. All right. And the process will just continue to make them look like absolute dweebs. This is supposed to be a badass faction. This is Karrion Kross with AOP. And two managers. You should be winning because of one manager's antics, right? That's what always happened with Jimmy Hart and Bobby Heenan and Slick. Brother Love. General Ognog. Man, all of the Freddie Blassie, although he also managed a lot as faces, but he did some heel work as well. But managers would, Sensational Sherry, they would help you. That was the whole point. And it would ignite a storyline, right? Not only would the heels win all these matches, but it would ignite storylines with the faces. Here, you just have the heels with two managers losing all the... I mean, you would never see this with Yokozuna and Mr. Fuji. Come on, man. They have two... Paul Ellering is one of the best managers of all time. Scarlett should be one of the best new managers of all time. Soon to be all time. But new, fresh. Everybody, this is Scarlett. This is what she's capable of. That should be the mission statement for Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Instead, you put Scarlett with Paul Ellering, and they can't help this group win a hot dog eating contest. And that's AOP. That's saying something. Karrion Kross's group. Like what? That's what I mean about the booking. Like, what are you doing, man? It's a 3-hour show, and the best you have creatively is send Odyssey Jones and New Day out there to beat Karrion Kross's stable. Nothing afterwards, in case you guys are wondering. There was nothing afterwards. They didn't even add on to the Xavier Woods heel turn, by the way. He's more connected to Odyssey and Kofi than ever before. Don't be surprised if they switch it up. If they start hearing some cheers for Odyssey and New Day, they'll just keep them together. And he'll literally just become the new Big E. But I was like, maybe they'll do something to amplify that, right? No. Xavier's like, yeah, we want it. And Final Testament, no storyline with them. They just lost again. And then next Monday, they'll probably be like talking all badass again. Right? It's just going to be Karrion yapping away. And when he gets in the ring, he backs up none of it. And everyone's going to subconsciously start looking at this group like the jobbers they've become. That's the problem with the booking. Miz and Bronson Reed. This is a no DQ match for some reason. They tried to sell it like Miz knows he can't beat him one-on-one, so he can use all the weapons. And then, this is no joke, I actually put it in my notes. This has actually happened. Miz spends 2 minutes throwing kendo sticks, chairs, trash cans, tables into the ring just so Bronson can use everything on him. It took the dude 2 minutes to move furniture, and then he finally got in the ring. He forgot, maybe I should have spent that 2 minutes beating up Bronson Reed. But he throws all this furniture in there, trash cans, you name it, and then Bronson's like, oh, I might as well just use all this since I've been out having a picnic while you were out there trying to assemble all of this furniture. He's out there with a picnic basket, a little blankie, some champagne. And he starts beating up the Miz. Bronson defeats Miz via tsunami splash pinfall. And then Bronson goes for a post-match tsunami, but instead he gets... Roar! Choo-choo, chugga-chugga! Braun Strowman! Braun Strowman comes to the ring and a match is made. Bronson gets out of the ring. And a match is made for next week. Bronson versus Braun Strowman. Priest and Ripley then are annihilated by the Judgment Day. Morgan destroys Ripley, complete with a nasty oblivion, by the way. Very well done. Priest never stood a chance with Balor, Mysterio, Carlito, and McDonald's 4-on-1. Priest just got annihilated just like Rhea Ripley. The only question would be which one got it worse. That's for the eye of the beholder. But that was just a beatdown. Well, that was all right. All right. I mean, it needed to be done. That's why I say it was all right, right? You have to remind everybody that this new Judgment Day, whether you look at him as a bootleg or not, like the Bloodline, you still have to remember, this is Balor we're talking about. It is Carlito, man. Liv Morgan's now a part of it. I mean, you have to amplify the group. So this was I'll even say a good way to do it. I didn't mind this beatdown at all. So I will give that segment some love. I'm not going to act like it was in a 3-hour show like this was so amazing. But if everything else was up to par last night, that would have meshed very well. But because the rest of the night was just so sour, you kind of forget about the beatdown. Then we go to, this is the Baszler, Stark, Io, Kairi, Alba, Isla triple threat championship title match for the ladies, for the tag titles. All three of these teams are heels to BC. Because, again, they gave me no reason to look at Io and Kairi as faces. There's no reason. Zoey and Shayna and Sonya came into the ring and beat up Damage Control. They're heels. And Sonya's group is heels. So, because the heels got beat after all they did to Bayley and all the faces in WWE, because they got out-heeled, we're now supposed to feel sorry for them and cheer them now. It doesn't feel natural. Doesn't feel right. And I love Io. I love Kairi. But now they're championing the faces locker room. Now they're like, we will take on all the heels now. It doesn't make any sense. So these are all heel tag teams to BC, and I know many of you guys. Fire pins Baszler for the win, and the champs retain the titles. When I say there was zero reaction when this match ended, that is somehow, that's an understatement. That's an understatement. There was like negative decimal of noise when this match ended. Negative decimals. Most of the crowd didn't even stand up. That's when you stretch after these matches. No. They were just like, okay, next. I don't know. 6 ladies. No reaction. If they wanted a better reaction for the frickin' Pirates, they should have given us a reason why they're all of a sudden faces. And then maybe more of the crowd would have cared about the frickin' Pirates. Michael Cole then informs us that Pat McAfee will be leaving Raw for the football season, but he'll be back for the big Netflix move in January. I love Pat. You guys know that. He brings an amplification that not many have, right? But with that said, this is going to be a welcoming break for BC. This is going to be welcoming because Pat is no longer a fan of pro wrestling. And what I mean by that is in actually following the product, Pat McAfee has admitted he doesn't watch the shows. Doesn't watch them. He shows up before his Raw or when he did SmackDown. Michael would brief him on things, but they just hire him for just that Raw reaction, right? Just be Pat. Pat has admitted that he doesn't even know a lot of the wrestlers sometimes when he shows up. Like if they come from NXT or Outside World or something, or a storyline popped up out of nowhere, he doesn't even know what's going on. And sometimes doesn't even know who the wrestlers are. So, on one hand, you love Pat for that, right? You're getting just a natural reaction. And on the other hand, it's become obnoxious belting. Like his commentary has just become screams and sound bites, almost like Kevin Patrick. Remember how Kevin Patrick used to commentate? He would just yell like sound bites. Oh my goodness, Corey! Corey, oh my goodness! Corey, he's down! He's down, Corey! So you just yell things randomly. And it didn't go with the rest of the commentary. Pat McAfee has just started yelling things. That's one big son of a bitch! Right? Just yells that. Or when Jey Uso comes out, it's yeet time, Michael! I'm yeeting all over the place! After a few weeks, after a few months of the same thing, it's like, all right, I need more substance, man. Like, you got to start following the show a little bit more to contribute a little bit more than just the Pat McAfee sound bites that we've been getting. And that's all they hired him for. And at first, it was okay. But it's become obnoxious belting, guys. It's really become evident that he's just out of the loop. And what started out as just funny, it's Pat McAfee, so we laugh, right? What started out as funny has just become disinterest. He's just not interested in a lot of this. He loves being there. He called him last night. That's like his family, the WWE family. And how he feels like that's home to him. And that's why I can't wait till he comes back. I'd rather have Pat on commentary than most anybody else. I just hope that when he comes back, he was watching the product throughout football season. I hope that he's really just reinvigorated and like he knows more about WWE. Like the storylines. And knows the wrestlers. And because then you can get the best of Pat. I guess that's what I'm saying. This is not the best of Pat McAfee. I'm telling you that. I'm telling you, this is somebody who... I like Pat McAfee. I love the amplification. Not many human beings have that amplification. Trust me, I know. But his commentary has really been like, it's been rough. The last few months I've been kind of feeling like Pat's just like already onto his next day. He's got so much going on. And you can tell he's straining to even know what's happening. So Michael Cole is probably happy just getting those sound bites, right? Here comes Braun. Hit it, Pat. That's one big son of a bitch. I'm like, oh, it's almost getting to the point. Nah, maybe not, but I was going to say it's getting to the point of like Seth Rollins' sing-along. I have to mute the TV for that. I can't do that. That just gets me absolutely nauseous. But it's rough. I just hope Pat... I'm just going to leave it at that, man. I know. We love... It's a rough topic to navigate through because we all love Pat. There's so many aspects we love from his commentary. If you know, you know, right? That's the way I know this is kind of an in-depth review on this announcement last night, but it was a big part of the show. It was actually the number one big headline from Monday Night Raw last night. That tells you a lot, doesn't it? That's not a good thing when your biggest headline from Monday Night Raw is Pat McAfee is leaving for a few months. But because of that, it needs some time to be reviewed, that announcement. And I just hope Pat McAfee comes back just better. Just better than just sound bites. He's better than just yeeting all over the place. Big son of a bitch. Or just saying a swear every other line to be edgy. But that's it. Michael Cole has confirmed Pat McAfee. And I already told you, if you guys follow the channel, I already told you guys this a few weeks ago. I already broke that news to you guys that Pat is leaving again. And the replacement is imminent. Main event, Randy Orton defeats Ludwig Kaiser via RKO pinfall. Post-match, Gunther and Orton punch each other and we go off the air. How sad is that? That was literally my notes. Guys, my notes for the main event after 3 hours of a pro wrestling show. Randy Orton defeats Kaiser. That's a main event. Kaiser and Orton. RKO pinfall, post-match, Gunther and Orton punch each other and we go off the air. That's how I ended my notes. They punch each other. That's it. That's the Hunter Hearst Helmsley created for a 3-hour show. Gunther, at the end of the match, you jump in, punch each other, and we're going to fade to black. I saw Gunther get RKO'd last week. Now he's just getting punched? You gave somebody a steak before the salad? I mean, I'm just trying to fathom that. You wouldn't show up to a nice Italian restaurante and get served a triple layered mousse cake before the clam sauce pasta. So the creative team says RKO him last week, and this week punch him. And that's, I guess, supposed to get people excited for Randy and Gunther. So that's it, guys. That's your 3-hour show. That's your 3-hour show. Again, halfway into this, I literally had to ask, what am I doing, man? And this isn't a Vince Hunter thing. It's better than Vince. It's not even about that. Vince's Raws were such a chore to get through for whole different reasons. And some of the same reasons too, by the way. But a Vincent Kennedy McMahon Raw was absolutely nauseating and a chore to get through. Hunter Hearst Helmsley's, for some of the same, but a lot of different reasons, is still a nauseating chore to get through. Like, outside of a couple 2-tree storylines that have been, thankfully, decent to even good, everything else is mind-numbingly, befuddlingly, stupidly irrelevant. Irrelevant. The women's division is irrelevant. The tag team division for the ladies and the dudes is non-existent. The mid-card, I could not be more exhausted with the mid-card. How many times we have to see Andrade versus Mello, or LA Knight versus Santos, P.D. Dunne and Sheamus, Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker. Jey Uso, Keep him backstage or put him in the ring. Who's Jey Uso going to have? Ludwig Kaiser? No matter what match you make, none of these individuals feel special. None of these matches make me go, oh, this is going to be good. Nothing. Nothing. Everybody in the mid-card seems like that's exactly where they should be. The mid-card. This show. Thank my channel members that there was even a review, because there was a moment where I'm like, you know what? I can just literally... I mean, I was so busy yesterday. So busy, there wasn't even a preview. Usually I like to do something for you guys right before Raw. You may have noticed there was nothing. I was so busy I couldn't even, but I'm like, you know what? This show on paper doesn't even look good, so I don't think anyone's missing anything on the preview. But I was so busy, I barely caught the beginning of Raw, but I was there with my notes, my coffee, and halfway in, I'm just like, what are we doing? I don't... Business is booming for WWE because they're getting all this money now from all the other countries, right? They've expanded the business model. That's good for them, honestly. Get that money. They got sellouts on the Raws and some of the SmackDowns, right? Because you're noticing, right? A lot more of the kids, and they're dragging the parents. Good. That doesn't mean that I can review these shows and go, wow, everything is awesome! Everything, man, Hunter Helmsley's cooking! No, he's microwaving ramen noodles, and somehow he put it on too long and the water overflowed. So when you open the microwave, you got all this water now. All of the contents in the cup of noodles spilled out. That's what I got for you guys, man. Until next time, and there will be that next time, thanks to channel members. Thanks to the channel members, we will do that SmackDown review, and if there is big news in the pro wrestling world, this will be your place, obviously, because BC, you know, I ain't going to sugarcoat. I'm going to BS you. You're going to get the straight, up front, full throttle honesty and amplified truth, because that's all we do on this channel, because there's no time to BS you, man. There's too much going on. There's too much to get to. This is my hobby. When I have free time, I sit down, I have a coffee, I talk pro wrestling. I'm always trying to make pro wrestling great again. That's always been the mission statement. Some of these shows are just rougher than others, right? They're just tougher to get through. And last night was just one of those moments where I was like, this show needs to change. Netflix, when it goes to Netflix, they have to go 2 hours. And unfortunately, they're not gonna. There's too much business at stake, too much money to be made, too much money was spent. So they're gonna keep it 3 hours. And that's tragic because they cannot do a 3-hour show. This is exhausting. These are like pay-per-views. The only problem is they're not. They're more like house shows. These are rough, but I'm going to try to keep reviewing these Monday Night Raws because I know there is a lot of you guys that do look forward to it. And you trust BC to give it to you amplified and truthfully. So I take that with great honor. So until next time, and there will be that next time. Top guys, we're all BC in the unit saying check you. Peace!